In this video, I'm going to talk about how money made me lonely. Now, I'm sure you can all agree with me that in life, we need validation. And validation means having a car, having a house, having a degree, to some extent, getting married. You have to show some sort of success to get your validation. But here's the thing. In order for you to get this validation, you're going to need money. And a lot of us, we don't know how money works. As for me, I can speak for myself. Growing up, the closest thing to money that I've experienced was my mom opening up a POSB account for me as a savings account. And that's pretty much about it. So if you're coming from a poor family and you don't have any mentorship or guidance about money, oftentimes you end up finding this way yourself about money. And in most cases, looking at the society, Zimbabweans, and to a degree, Africa as a whole, you find that the strategy to getting money or to making money is through the education route. So you go to school, you graduate, you become a doctor, you become a lawyer, and so on. Now, I'm not saying here that that path is wrong. No, but that's the only path we really know. When it comes to entrepreneurship, no. Most of the societies, especially in Africa, were pretty much middle class. Okay, pretty much middle class. So if you're middle class, you've really, really, really made it. There were very few entrepreneurs, or at least from my experience growing up. And I grew up in the city. So to achieve money or to get money, you need, or rather, money has a strategy. For you to get money, there's a strategy. You don't just end up getting money. So there's two ways to get this money. Two ways. One is to work, invest that money, okay? And then once you've invested that money, the proceeds of that investment then buys your toys, your nice cars, your fancy clothes, and so on. Now, this is the most important path to take. Okay, you're working, you invest that money, and that money's proceeds or profits then gets you to spend whatever you need to spend. So that process allows you to also have some savings and so on. The second one is you work, and then unfortunately, for you to get that validation, you are going to need to go into debt. Now, I know a lot of you are going to come to me and say, good debt, good debt, good debt. That's fine. If you can balance your debt, you can pay off your debt, it's all good. You do you, that's your life, it's all good. But I'm just talking about myself here. So you work, you get debt, and then that debt now is buying your fancy things. Now you have a house, mortgage, you have a car, finance, degree. Of course, it's debt. You get married. Sometimes you have to get a loan to get married. And then you want your fancy clothes. You want your fancy stuff. Loans, credit cards. So on the surface now, it looks like the guy who's working and invested his money and then he's able to achieve the house, the car, the degree, and so on is the same as the guy who has the debt. Okay? But these two people are different because the guy who has to work, invest that money, and then make that money work for him, he has to go through a lot. Typically, a mindset shift. And this mindset shift is so powerful that it's not easy for you to achieve these things. This is why people go the lazy way. You just borrow. If you don't have enough, you just borrow. Okay, you want an iPhone 16 Pro Max, just borrow and just pay it slowly. You want a car, borrow and just pay slowly. You want a house, borrow and then just pay slowly. Everything is just borrow, 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 borrow. And then you just sit back and then pay the minimum payments to all the things that you've borrowed. I mean, I'm sure you can agree with me. That's easier. Okay, it's easier because at the end of the month, you got a paycheck, you just pay for those things and you're good. As long as you have a stable job, it's all good. But the guy who has to work, do some sort of a side hustle, invest or set up a business and then make that business work for him, he has to go through a crazy mindset shift. And unfortunately, this mindset shift has a lot of consequences. That is, as you're working towards making your investments work, and then investment can be maybe you're taking 10,000 here, you're putting into a farm, and you want that farm to work. Or you take that and you put it into a business and you want that business to be profitable so that you have what? Financial freedom. That's what I'm talking about here. So this one here is a bit more difficult because it has a lot of consequences. And the consequences are you're going to start losing friends. Now, for those of you who are in this one here, the way you work, you invest, and so on, let me know in the comments box. Have you noticed this, or maybe it's just happening to me? You can have friends who are really close to you, but the moment you start doing your mindset shifts and you start making progress in your investments, in your business, and so on, you start losing them slowly. You start to be seen as someone who's a show off. You start to be seen as, you don't have time for us anymore. And there's all these words that make you feel guilty. All right. So oftentimes this is what really happens. You start losing your friends because obviously your mindset shift is gone. It's changed. You're not into the debt, mindset, because again, it's a mindset shift. Okay. You start losing your friends. Sometimes even family members will start having problems with you. All of a sudden, you start seeing all these demands coming through because they see that, you got a business, you're doing something different, or perhaps maybe you're making it. So you start seeing all these demands. Sometimes you start to lose even your close family members. And the worst one is jealousy starts developing. Imagine just hearing, that guy, he was working in the diaspora, but now he has a farm. Just that alone, and people knowing the farm is now producing and 10,000 chickens every month. People start calculating on their own. 10,000 chickens times 6. They start making budgets in their heads, and they're ready now to come and ask you for money. This is what happens. So you start developing what? Jealousy and envy, and this is dangerous. So can you imagine now, as a man, okay, we said we want validation, right? Can you imagine now you have to deal with trying to make the business work, or this investment work? But at the same time, emotionally, you have to deal with friends that are dropping off. You have to deal with family members. You have to deal with jealousy. And these are people that you grew up with. Mentally, how do you deal with that? It's not easy. So then we throw out these words like, birds of the same feather flock together. Okay, fine. But now you have to start looking for these people, the birds of the same feather. Now you need to look for people who have that investment mindset, the entrepreneurship mindset. Because the other one, the work, debt, and then buying all these fancy things on loans, that one is easy. Those guys, they're everywhere. They have these groups where, they're into football, they're into so many activities. Life is good, okay? Life is good. They're everywhere. They have time to talk about politics. They have time to be keyboard warriors, and some of them, they live a laid back lifestyle. They with their family, they go on holiday, they just chill, no pressure, right? These guys, they're okay. But the guys now who are trying to create the businesses, or who are really trying to achieve something that's going to be some sort of an investment for financial freedom, these guys are in big trouble. They're in big trouble because you now have to create a small circle of like-minded people. And you know what I've realized? That small circle of people does not exist. Very few times you get people who are on the same wavelength as you, or the same way of thinking as you. So it's very, very difficult. So adding to all of this, sometimes you have losses in your business. Okay, these are all problems. 1 minute you're thinking your business is going well, boom, 500 chickens have died. Or you just get a call. Chickens were stolen yesterday. I mean, how do you deal with this type of things? Do people even think about it? How does it make us feel when all these things are happening? You're dealing with crazy friends, you're dealing with crazy family members, your business, people are stealing from your business, or there's disasters happening. How do you normally deal with that? Okay, we're all human beings. We have emotions. So this is where you find some people now, they tend to go to drinking, drugs, just to numb everything. Okay, now, personally, I don't drink, I don't take drugs, none of that. I don't even smoke. But this is what ends up happening. And we all know this. All these drugs and all these type of things, they don't solve any problems. So you may be thinking, well, where am I going with this? Well, what I'm trying to say is, to be really successful, it's a very, very lonely road. It's very lonely. Oftentimes you're by yourself. Personally, I don't even have friends like that. Okay, I have people that I talk to every now and again and so on, or even guys I went to school with, but not like really tight, close friends like that. I don't have that. I don't have that. Why? Because I've spent so much time trying to make the business work so I can have financial freedom. And that requires a lot of dedication, a lot of work, and a lot of mental strength. And this is where now, when things go wrong, you worry times 5. Times 5. The guy who has a job and a paycheck at the end of the month does not really worry that much because he knows money is coming at the end of the month. But the guy who's an entrepreneur, he's in big trouble because he worries a lot. And oftentimes you don't even have any family support. They don't understand what you do. Perhaps maybe you're the first entrepreneur in your family. They don't understand that. So how are they going to support you? So the stress is on the next level. But in order for you to get advice, people have to understand what you're doing, what you're in. And like I said earlier on, oftentimes the families that we grew up in, they don't have the business support. So you have to create your own cushions. Because when you fall, you want to fall comfortably. So now you have to create your own cushions. You have to come up with the business ideas. You have to come up with this. You have to come up with that. And to be honest, you become a person that needs advice or mentorship in order for you to do this. Now, in my case, I don't have a mentor. So guess what? There's only one way out one way to success without a mentor. And that means you have to make so many mistakes and learn from them. Because there's no mentor. You have to make so many mistakes and learn from them. And now in making those mistakes, sometimes you're making decisions thinking this decision is going to work, and it doesn't. Sometimes you're convinced that this decision is amazing. So imagine, you can say to yourself, you know what? Let me just put the chickens on the side. This is me deciding, right? I'm going to put the chickens on the side. What I'm going to do is I want to go into cabbages. Okay? So there you go. Ruwa Organic, he's going into cabbages. I plant them in the wrong season. Maybe there's too much water. Or it's too hot. And then it doesn't work out. Later on now, someone comes to me and says, hey, I saw a video of you trying to do cabbages. You don't plant cabbages in September. Come on. You shouldn't have done that. It's supposed to be done in January. I'm just giving you examples here. You've learned it the hard way because there's no one to really mentor you and take you through what needs to be done. And I'm just giving this cabbages as an example. So mentorship is needed a lot. Unfortunately, in our Zimbabwean communities, I may be wrong because I'm not in a lot of them, but just from observing, people tend to copy each other. I remember a time in 2001, 2002, when people just went into, combis make money. People started buying combis. I'm sure they were flooded. And then it was, you know what? We need to buy these trucks. And that a lot of people bought. And then it was buy land, buy land, buy land. And people were buying land in crazy ways. Some of them was even scammed because they didn't even know what's the process to buy the land. Sometimes there were no lawyers involved. But it was a craze. Do you see what I mean? People just rush and go into something without actually thinking and calculating because, like I said earlier on, money needs strategy. You don't just make money. It needs strategy. And these strategies, they are so precise because they're like formulas. So where am I going with this? So you find that you need to be a master, or you need to master that type of business that you're trying to make work. Because if you create so many different sources of income, you get confused. And by the way, you're by yourself anyway. And let's say you now have made it and it's not working. Guess what? You're still in trouble because people want that money. You'll find that people are trying to sue you. There are so many opportunists trying to just sometimes associate with you so they can sue you tomorrow. Some are trying to be friends with you so they can take advantage of you. So now the money is there that you've been working for all this time, and now you have to protect it. Do you see how crazy this is? And this is why I say, if you want to be successful, aim for being financially independent or financially safe. Don't go for the riches. And if the riches do come along the way, don't be one of those people who are fancy, trying to show off. Look at my latest car. Look at this. Look at this. I drink this. Social media everywhere. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. You're attracting problems. I've seen with my own eyes rich people. They don't act like what we see in our country. They don't act like celebrities. No. You will never know that these guys are millionaires. They're so humble. And what I also noticed was a lot of these rich people, they don't associate with broke people. You know why? Because even if they give you advice, you'll never listen anyway. You'll find excuses. So they hang out in their own circles. But these are the circles now which I'm saying, where are they? I want to be a part of those circles because this money thing made me lonely. I want to be a part of those people who are on the same wavelength with me. So far, I'm in a group of Zimbabweans who I went to school with, and the only thing that's shared in that group are stupidness. Topics about politics, women, and crazy ideologies, which do not even encourage growth or encourage progress. It's all destructive. If there's no picture of women, there's a picture of this alcohol, or there's a picture of, look at me, I'm enjoying life. What are we getting from this? And look at our ages. I'm in my mid-40s. This is the generation that is going to be the leaders of the future, whether in politics, in business, in everything. But look at our mindset. Now, I'm not saying we are a failed group of people, but I'm saying sometimes we need to change our attitudes and work towards progress. It can be progress in anything. We are too individualistic, and that is a big problem. So, lately, I've spoken to quite a few people on Ruwa Organic. They have contacted me. I've called them. To my surprise, I've been having conversations that last 2 hours, 1 hour. Why? I was asking myself, why is this happening? How is it I can speak to someone for an hour, 2 hours? And these people, by the way, I mean, I'm very impatient because a lot of people, they just, I don't have time for a lot of people because of how they think. But since making these videos, for those of you guys who have spoken to me for more than 30 minutes to an hour or 2 hours, you know yourselves. We're on the same wavelength. That's why I listen. Otherwise, I don't have time for a lot of nonsense. Because what I've noticed is a lot of men, they're like baby men, busy crying, busy complaining, busy making excuses, and never take accountability. That's majority of people. That's what I hear. That's what I see. It's always someone else's problem, pointing fingers. You become a professional at pointing fingers. And sometimes you even become a professional in talking about problems. But the winners are those that acknowledge the problems, take accountability to a degree, and do something about it. So we have baby men. Cry baby men. That's where the problem is. So we just have to acknowledge that to be a real man is to know that no one is coming to do your press-ups for you to lose weight. And that's the harsh reality. So we need to motivate ourselves to make it happen. Now, I'm not here lecturing anyone. I'm just here talking about my observations and also the way I look at life. I look at men, Zimbabweans. Are we really going to get proper leaders from my generation, the 45-year-olds, this generation? Are we going to get real leaders, and how are they going to be performing? That's scary for me. But I'm not saying they're not there. They are there, but they have detached themselves just like me. They're also lonely. So if you're like-minded, let's link up. Let's talk about real issues with real solutions. I'm going to create a group on Ruwa Organic. In fact, what we could do right now is go to ruwaorganic.com and join the community. Let's have our discussions there. Let's have a group where we are discussing things that are progressive, things that are constructive, and things that can make us become, great. Not only for our generation, but even for our kids. Do you know what makes me scared? I've lived in the diaspora my adult life. Generally speaking, you as a human being, you need a backbone. You need uncles, you need anasekuru helping you out, navigate a few things. Maybe you're having marital problems, people step in, they give you advice. But in the diaspora, there's none of that. None of that. So we've just grown up and just, we just go on and just get on with it. But we don't even know what we're doing. We're dabbling. There's no strategy. Same applies to the women. When they are dealing with their own emotions, what do? Where are the tetes? Where are the aunties to be a part of this? Well, if you do have some, well, good for you. But for me, I was too busy, and I'm too busy for that. So I make my own decisions as I go. Now, am I guaranteed that those decisions are good? Absolutely not. I've also made some decisions that were so stupid that they are life-changing. So there's a lot that we need to think about. There's a lot that we need to think about. And then, to add on to that, our children, how are we raising them? Are they really Zimbabwean? Do they really identify as Zimbabwean? What are we exposing them to? So how are they going to be a part of the future of Zimbabwe with the way we're raising them? Do you see what I mean? These are the sort of things that I think about. So it's easy to point fingers and blame. But I want to make it an opportunity to take action. And some of you guys that have called me and we've had these chats, they were really constructive, because I feel like some of you, I've known you just from the phone call. I feel like I've known you because we're speaking on the same wavelength. And it's so amazing. And this is what motivated me to create this video. So I'm going to create a WhatsApp group. I'm also going to create a group on Ruwa Organic where we just help each other out, even if we have problems. Someone to talk to. We need that. So far, very few people can understand where I'm coming from and where I'm going, because we're on different paths. We're on different paths. So it's very difficult to understand where one is coming from and one where is going. So yes, head over to ruwaorganic.com, and I will also create a group, WhatsApp group, so that at least we have some sort of a network, some sort of a backbone, because so far the groups that I've seen, absolutely useless. I want something that is more constructive, something that is more beneficial, you know what I mean. Anyway, guys, These are my thoughts. And like I said, I want to hear what you think. Add all your comments in the comments box below, please. But in a respectful manner. No one's got time for drama. Okay, we have a lot of things to do. We all have our problems. So I don't think anyone has time for drama. Okay, so let's have constructive conversations. And I want to hear what you think. If I'm wrong and you think everything is okay, I want to hear it. You don't have to agree with me. That's the whole point of this channel. You don't have to agree with me, but I also want to hear your points. Until next time, thanks for watching. Peace.